All right, so today we're taking a deep dive into TLR agonists. You know, all those molecules that can like supercharge our immune system. We've got research papers and textbook excerpts, and even a YouTube video that's breaking down some really intricate cellular mechanisms. So by the end of this, you'll practically be able to design your own vaccine adjuvant.
Well, maybe not quite design one, but you'll definitely understand the key principles. What's fascinating about this field is that it's revealing how we can manipulate our own immune responses with remarkable precision.
Okay, so before we even get into like the how, let's rewind a little bit. Remind us what TLRs actually are and why they're so important for our immune system.
Think of TLRs, or toll-like receptors, as our immune system's early warning system, like tiny sensors on the surface of our cells, constantly scanning for signs of danger.
And they're not just looking for any old danger, right? They're
Mhm.
specialized.
Exactly. Each TLR is tuned to recognize a specific molecular pattern that's characteristic of a particular threat. Whether it's a virus, bacteria, or even certain types of damage to our own cells, it's like they each have a specific code they're looking for.
So it's like a lock and key system, where each TLR has a unique lock that only a specific pathogen's key can fit.
That's a great way to visualize it. And when a TLR encounters its matching key, it sets off a cascade of signals inside the cell. This triggers the production of molecules like cytokines, which are basically chemical messengers, that alert other immune cells and kickstart the immune response.
So the TLRs are like the scouts, who spot the enemy and then radio for reinforcements.
Exactly. Now, where TLR agonists come in is that they can mimic those keys and essentially trick the TLRs into thinking there's a threat, even if there isn't.
So they're like a training exercise for the immune system,
Right.
prepping it to respond more effectively to the real deal.
Precisely. This makes TLR agonists incredibly powerful tools, especially when it comes to vaccines and cancer immunotherapy.
Okay, I'm already intrigued. Let's talk about these TLR agonists. What are the different types, and how do they work their magic?
There are two main categories: natural agonists and synthetic ones. Natural agonists are derived from things found in nature, often components of pathogens themselves. For example, flagellin, which is a protein found in bacterial flagella, is a natural agonist for TLR5.
So it's like taking a page out of nature's playbook
Yeah,
and using the pathogen's own weapons against it.
exactly. Then we have synthetic agonists, which are designed and synthesized in the lab. These can be incredibly precise, targeting specific TLRs with even greater control over the immune response. Amikimod, for example, is a synthetic agonist for TLR7. That's used to treat certain types of skin cancer.
So scientists are essentially creating custom-designed keys
Yeah,
to activate specific TLR locks.
that's a great way to put it. And this level of control opens up a whole world of possibilities in terms of how we can modulate the immune response.
Now, you mentioned that different TLR agonists can trigger different types of immune responses. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. Different TLRs are like specialized departments within the immune system. They each have their own unique set of signaling pathways and downstream effects. For example, some TLR agonists are particularly good at inducing a strong inflammatory response, which is essential for fighting off bacterial infections.
So those agonists would be like calling in the heavy artillery.
Exactly. While others are better at promoting the activation of certain types of T cells, which are crucial for killing virus-infected cells and cancer cells.
So those agonists would be more like deploying a team of elite assassins. It seems like choosing the right TLR agonist for a particular situation is key.
That's a great point, and that's why understanding the nuances of different TLR agonists and their downstream effects is so important, especially when we're talking about vaccine development and cancer immunotherapy.
Right, because in those contexts, we're trying to elicit a very specific immune response, not just any old response.
Exactly. It's about precision. We want to activate the immune system in a way that's most effective at eliminating the specific threat without causing unnecessary collateral damage.
Okay, so let's talk about how these TLR agonists are actually being used. I know they're playing a big role in vaccine development, right?
They are. One of the most important applications of TLR agonists is as adjuvants in vaccines. An adjuvant is essentially an ingredient that's added to a vaccine to boost the immune response.
So they're like the secret ingredient. That makes vaccines even more potent.
That's a great way to put it. Traditional vaccines often rely on weakened or inactive forms of pathogens to trigger an immune response, but sometimes that response isn't strong enough or long-lasting enough to provide optimal protection.
So it's like the immune system needs an extra nudge to really take notice and mount a robust defense.
Exactly. That's where TLR agonists come in. By activating TLRs, they essentially amplify the danger signals that the vaccine is sending, leading to a stronger and more durable immune
So
response.
it's like adding a siren to the alarm system to make sure everyone hears it.
Yes. And this can be especially important for vaccines that are targeting difficult pathogens, or for populations that have weaker immune systems, like older adults.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, I know we also have a YouTube video in our stack of sources.
Mm.
Does that dive into even more detail about how these agonists work at the cellular level?
It does. This video, Cyclic AMP Signaling Part 9 from Elliot Nicholson's channel, delves into a really fascinating concept called signaling microdomains.
Yeah, that sounds pretty complex. Break it down for us.
It is, but it's also incredibly elegant. Essentially, signaling microdomains are like specialized compartments within a cell where different signaling pathways are organized and coordinated. Imagine it like a city with different districts, each specialized for a particular function.
So it's all about efficiency and specificity, making sure the right signals are sent to the right places at the right time.
Exactly. And what's really cool is that different TLR agonists can target different signaling microdomains, leading to distinct downstream effects.
So it's like having a map of the city
Yeah.
and knowing which district to send the message to in order to get the desired outcome.
That's a fantastic analogy. This video also highlights the role of these fascinating proteins called kinase anchoring proteins, or AKP.
All right, I'm sensing these AKPs are important players in this whole signaling microdomain story. What do they do?
Think of them as the architects of these microdomains. AKKPs act as scaffolding proteins, helping to assemble and organize the different signaling molecules that are involved in TLR activation. One of the key players they interact with is protein kinase A, or PKA.
So the AKPs are like the construction crew, making sure all the signaling equipment is in the right place and properly connected.
Precisely. And different AKPs can bind to specific types of PKA, allowing for fine-tuning of the immune response. It's like having different types of wrenches to tighten different types of bolts.
Wow, so even at this incredibly tiny scale,
Yeah.
there's so much complexity and specificity. It's mind-boggling.
It really is. But the key takeaway here is that this whole concept of signaling microdomains is still a relatively new area of research. There's so much more to learn. And it's incredibly exciting to think about what we might discover as scientists delve deeper into these intricate cellular mechanisms.
Okay, I'm already hooked. Before we move on, are there any other key things you want to highlight about TLRs themselves? Anything our listeners should keep in mind before we jump into the specifics of their role in vaccines and cancer therapy?
That's a great question. One crucial point is that TLRs aren't just about fighting off external invaders. They also play a role in recognizing damage or stress signals from our own cells.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not just about detecting pathogens, but also about sensing internal trouble.
Exactly. Think of it this way. Sometimes our own cells get damaged or stressed, and they release certain molecules that act as a sort of mayday signal. TLRs can pick up on these signals and initiate a response to help repair the damage and restore balance.
So it's like a built-in repair crew.
Precisely. And this adds another layer of complexity to the whole picture.
Okay, this is fascinating stuff. It seems like we've only just scratched the surface of how TLRs work and the many roles they play in our immune system. I'm definitely ready to dive deeper into those exciting applications you mentioned, especially in vaccines and cancer therapy.
It really is remarkable how our bodies are constantly working to maintain this delicate balance between defense and repair, and TLRs are right at the heart of it all.
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork for understanding TLRs and how these agonists can step in to fine-tune the immune response. Now, let's zoom in on their role in vaccines. You mentioned that they can act as adjuvants, making vaccines more effective. Can you walk us through how that works?
Absolutely. Remember, vaccines work by introducing our immune system to a harmless version of a pathogen or a piece of it.
Right, it's like showing the immune system a wanted poster so it knows what to look for in the future.
Exactly. But sometimes that wanted poster alone isn't enough to elicit a strong and lasting immune response. That's where adjuvants come in.
So they're like adding a big red danger sign to the wanted poster, making sure the immune system really pays attention.
That's a great way to think about it. And TLR agonists are particularly good at this because they can trigger those same danger signals that the immune system would naturally encounter during a real infection.
So it's like giving the immune system a simulated training exercise, making it more prepared for the real battle when it comes along.
Precisely. And this can be crucial for a number of reasons. First, it can make vaccines more effective in people who have weaker immune systems, like older adults or individuals with certain health conditions.
So it's like leveling the playing field, making sure everyone gets the same level of protection.
Exactly. Second, it can allow us to use lower doses of the vaccine antigen, which can reduce the risk of side effects.
That's a win-win. Are there any specific examples of TLR agonists that are being used as vaccine adjuvants right now?
One notable example is AS04, which is an adjuvant that contains a TLR4 agonist derived from the bark of the Calagia saponaria tree.
Wow, so it's a natural compound that's been harnessed for this purpose.
AS04 is used in several vaccines, including the Cervarix vaccine for human papillomavirus, or HPV, and the Fendrix vaccine for hepatitis B. Another example is CpG 1018, a synthetic TLR9 agonist that's used in the Heplisav B vaccine for hepatitis B.
It's amazing to see how these different TLR agonists are being incorporated into real-world vaccines. Now, I know we also wanted to talk about how TLR agonists are being used in cancer therapy. That's a whole other area where they hold incredible promise, right?
Absolutely. Remember how we talked about cancer cells being able to evade the immune system by essentially going undercover?
Right, it's like they've got a cloaking device that makes them invisible to the immune system's defenses.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well, TLR agonists can help blow their cover by activating the immune system and making those cancer cells more visible and vulnerable.
so it's like equipping the immune system with X-ray vision, allowing it to see through the cancer cell's disguise.
That's a great analogy, and there are several different ways TLR agonists are being investigated for cancer immunotherapy.
Okay, I'm curious to hear more about these strategies. What are some of the approaches being explored?
One approach is using TLR agonists as adjuvants in cancer vaccines, similar to how they work in traditional vaccines. They can boost the immune response to specific tumor antigens, training the immune system to recognize and attack cancer cells.
So it's like creating a personalized wanted poster for each patient's cancer, making it easier for the immune system to hunt them down.
Precisely, another approach is using TLR agonists as standalone therapies to directly activate immune cells within the tumor microenvironment.
So it's like sending in a special ops team to infiltrate the tumor and take out the enemy from within.
That's a good way to visualize it, and this can be particularly effective for cancers that are known to express certain TLRs.
So it's like knowing the enemy's weak spot and exploiting it with a targeted strike.
Exactly. And there's even research exploring the use of TLR agonists in combination with other cancer therapies like chemotherapy or immunotherapy.
So it's like using a multi-pronged attack, hitting the cancer from all angles.
Precisely. The idea is that by combining different therapies, we can enhance their overall effectiveness and potentially overcome resistance mechanisms.
This is all incredibly exciting. It sounds like TLR agonists have the potential to revolutionize cancer treatment. Now, we've talked a lot about the big picture applications, but I'm also fascinated by the intricacies of how these agonists work at the cellular level. We delved into the concept of signaling microdomains earlier, but are there any other key insights from that YouTube video that you want to highlight? Anything that can help us understand how researchers are approaching the development and deployment of these TLR agonists?
That's a great point. It's important to remember that while TLR agonists hold immense promise, there are also challenges and considerations when it comes to their development and deployment.
Right. It's not as simple as just flipping a switch and activating the immune system. There's a need for precision and control.
Absolutely. One of the key challenges is ensuring specificity. We want to activate the immune response in a precise and targeted way, avoiding unintended consequences.
That makes sense. It's like making sure the immune system's weapons are aimed at the right target and don't cause collateral damage.
Precisely. And another challenge is managing potential side effects. Activating the immune system can sometimes lead to inflammation or other unwanted reactions.
Right. It's about finding that sweet spot where the benefits outweigh the risks.
Exactly. And that's where ongoing research is so crucial. Scientists are working tirelessly to develop TLR agonists that are both safe and effective, and to better understand how to tailor their use for different conditions.
Well, it's definitely a rapidly evolving field, and it's exciting to think about the breakthroughs that might be just around the corner. But before we get too carried away with the future, I think it's important to bring things back to the present and acknowledge the incredible progress that's already been made. We've seen how TLR agonists are being used in real-world vaccines, and we've explored their vast potential in cancer immunotherapy. It's truly remarkable.
It really is. And I think what's particularly exciting is this research isn't just about developing new drugs. It's about gaining a deeper understanding of the fundamental principles that govern our immune system.
Right. It's like we're unlocking the secrets of our body's own defense mechanism.
Yes.
Exactly. And the more we learn, the more we realize just how intricate and interconnected everything is. It's like a vast symphony orchestra with each instrument playing a specific role in creating the overall harmony.
I love that analogy, and it makes me think about the concept of synergy, which you touched on earlier.
Yeah.
Can you remind us what that means in the context of TLR agonists and the immune system?
Of course, synergy in this context refers to the idea that different immune pathways can work together in a coordinated way to amplify the overall response. It's like combining different musical instruments to create a richer, more powerful sound.
So it's not just about activating one TLR, but about finding the right combination of signals to elicit the most effective immune response.
Precisely. And this is where things get really interesting. Researchers are exploring how different TLR agonists can be combined either with each other or with other types of immune modulators to create synergistic effects.
So it's like finding the perfect recipe for immune activation.
That's a great way to put it, and this has huge implications for both vaccine development and cancer immunotherapy. Imagine being able to tailor the immune response with such precision that we can target specific pathogens or cancer cells while minimizing side effects.
It sounds like science fiction, but it's becoming reality.
It is, and it's all thanks to the groundbreaking research that's being done in this field.
This has been an incredible deep dive into the world of TLR agonists.
Yeah.
We've covered so much ground, from the basic biology to the intricate mechanisms of action to the exciting applications in vaccines and cancer therapy. I feel like I've gained a whole new level of understanding.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, this is just the beginning. The field of immunology is constantly evolving, and there's still so much more to discover.
So to wrap things up, what's one key takeaway you want our listener to remember about TLR agonists?
I think the most important thing to remember is that TLR agonists are incredibly powerful tools that have the potential to revolutionize medicine by harnessing the power of our own immune system. We can develop new and more effective ways to prevent and treat a wide range of diseases.
That's a powerful message, and one that I think will resonate with our listener.
Mm.
So as we conclude our deep dive into TLR agonists, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. We've talked a lot about how TLRs are essential for detecting danger signals and activating the immune system. But what if there are other, as yet undiscovered sensors within ourselves that play a role in immunity? What other secrets might our immune system be hiding?
That's a fantastic question, and it highlights the fact that we're still just beginning to understand the full complexity of our immune system. Who knows what other amazing discoveries await us as we continue to explore the frontiers of immunology. It's an incredibly exciting time to be in this field.
Absolutely. And on that note of wonder and possibility, we'll wrap up this deep dive. We hope you enjoyed the journey and learned something new along the way. Until next time, stay curious.